Hello everyone, Kenti Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers and continuing on in the Survival Series 2. One of the things that we have been working towards here is getting our new space station. This is the unobnoxious, preferably non-lag monster version. And last episode we actually spent a lot of time getting our sorting and cargo conveying system all working well. So to recap, we put in the we started by putting in the pull-in system, which is this sorter right here, which dumps into these two containers. Then we, off the same header here, had a basically the main supply sorter. And the goal behind the main supply sort was basically to pull material, all the finished products, so things like hand tools, components, ingots, all that sort of thing, out and in fact dump them into the main supply containers, which are these 6 here. I know they're a little hard to see behind the upgrade cubes there. But this is the main supply system. Now, one of the other things we needed to do with the main supply, or rather the initial stuff, main supply has to have a, shall I say, integrated return system for certain things. So if we need to process things such as ore that we could possibly take in into the main supply system, then we need a way to return that over to the pull-in side, because the pull-in side is where we're doing processing, which is to say refining and then fine refining, which is with these extractors here. So what we've done is create an ore pull-in, and it's a passive system. It just allows the no, I guess it is an active now that I think about it. Well, let's look here. This is the that's the ice blocker. This should be the ore pull-in, and it is indeed an active system. So it is draining all. If it finds it, it pulls it. This is an ice blocker. Why do we do that? Because ore is ore. It's unprocessed, right? So technically ice is an ore, even though we can use it in an unprocessed form. So we want to block ice because we did not want ice to come back through. There's no point. And in fact, we'll create a loop because ice comes across and then it would go right back through. And then it would come across and then go right back through, because this main sorter pulls ice as well. So we want to block ice so we don't have a sorting loop of any kind. And then this guy pulls in ore through. On the other side over here, let me go ahead and get out and up. On the other side over here, we created the fuel ice system interconnectors. So this one pulls, or rather allows for really 6 things, but actually 4. So I had at one time created bottles, and they're no longer in use because I figured out how to do what I wanted to do, which is basically give, for those of you who actually know how big a normal, like a hospital personal use oxygen bottle is, it is not 15 kilograms, okay? It's like 5, maybe. So, anyway, that was one of my heartaches. So I fixed that. The sorter needs to be able to pull ice across, because after all, fuel ice, right? And uranium ingots, so those come across. It's passive, so it can pull them across, but it's not pulling them. It's just letting you push stuff across if you want to. Ultimately goes into these 2 containers. Now, if you remember from the last episode, I actually had this return. So this was number 1, and then number 2 was sitting right up here, and then there was this return which was actually for bottles, because in the original designs, and in fact in most of my designs, um, the gas generators as well as the reactors are actually out on the blue system. So they use the blue system as their supply. And that's very purposeful, because those are the two who are using fuel and ice. So it made sense to put them out there. But the challenge is, well, what fills up my bottles? Well, the gas generators. So how do I get bottles over there? So that had to be added into the sorter. But now, well, we have the bottles over there, but how do we get them back into the main supply system? So that was the secondary sorter. The other reason the secondary sorter existed was because most of my gaseous storage was over there on the blue side as well. And I don't know if this is still true or not, but gases cannot go through the sorter backwards. It used to be, if it was connected, it was connected. It would go through. But I think they fixed that, corrected that, however you want to look at that. So now we needed a passive sorter to allow for those gases to come back over onto the main side from the gas generation side. So that also became the function of this passive return sorter. So this one down here is really just the bottle sorter. Now, why did I move those two down? The only thing we're missing is our ability to do assembly. So I tried to figure out where to put my assemblers, and I could either put them underneath, but underneath has a lot of stuff already. So I decided let's go ahead and put them at the top. Now, I use upgrade cubes, EZO's upgrade cube. Originally I wanted 5 assemblers over here, but the problem is to put in that top upgrade path, I'm going to be actually off the end and into the glass, which I don't want to do. I don't want to destroy my glass just for the sake of these. So 4 on this side and 4 on the other side, and because of how these all mounted, I was going to end up with these guys in the way, which those 2 guys were right there. So move some stuff around to accommodate. Alright, assemblers, we'll go ahead and get the assemblers in. It doesn't really matter which way these go. That's an O2 generator, that's not what I want. Pulled in the wrong thing. There's the assembler. So, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll do the same thing on this side, which will actually give us 2 stacks of 4. Now remember that assemblers will only work cooperative if they are end to end, like these guys are now. Okay, so they have to be end to end. No other choice there. Alright, EZO upgrade cubes. We'll continue on with these guys. Turn this sideways. In this case, we're going to go there. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. There. Go down. Run these things across. So we have, the goal here is to have the upgrade modules on all sides. So there's this. There we go. There's that side almost complete, and then this side. And the last one. So originally I was going to have them way up towards the top. The reason I didn't do that is because we have both of those doors, which would cut off access to the doors. Oops, don't want to do that. So now we have these 2 assembly systems. I turned my assemblers upside down. Darn it. Oh well. So the only other thing that ultimately we need to do is figure out how do we plumb these guys in so they can use the system. Conveniently, we have an access point here. The problem, if we can call it that, let's change color over to the green supply. We are going to put in not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. We're going to put in a conveyor right here. And we'll go ahead and put conveyor here. So, the next thing we do is we're going to put in an elbow, which will take us here, and then another elbow, which will connect us here. Then it's the interconnectors going across. So we need an elbow here. So now these two are connected on the ends and connected in to the system there. Because I like redundancy, I'm going to figure out how I can put these in, and I think the way I can do that is actually put a junction right there. And then we'll go ahead and pull everything across here, and we'll do effectively the same thing. So we're going to put a conveyor there. We will put an elbow here and here, and then an elbow here with interconnectors there. So that way all 8 of our assemblers are connected in and happy. The only thing I'm going to do differently is repaint. Because I actually kind of like my tiger orange. So we'll change all of this over to tiger orange and leave only the supply system unchanged. Whoops. That one may be a challenge. So changing over. Okay, so that is the interconnections in. So now we have assembly as well as all of our other supplies. So the only thing we need to do now, and the only way to do that is to grab onto a control panel somewhere, is twofold. We have to, let's go ahead and turn off the hidden, do a Control A, select me, which is actually going to be all of the upgrade cubes as well as the assemblers, and then turn this off. So here's our assemblers. Assembler 1 through 8, which is actually all the assemblers we have. So we're going to call that production assemblers, and we're going to save that as a group. We're going to turn off. So I'm not using that at factories, but I'm going to go ahead and do cooperative mode, and it's going to kind of change what these are. What the hell? I'll go ahead and select them both. So toolbar config off, and then terminal off, but inventory, obviously we'll have that on the screen. All of my ESO upgrade cubes are going to go into a category called system upgrades, just to get them out of the way. And we're going to have more that will go in there. So off and off. Okay, now we should have the known things. So we have all of our main containers. So we have our fuel ice, we have our supply containers, and we have our pull-in containers. And that's pretty much all the containers we have. It does not look like we have any pull-in containers anywhere. I thought we had... Okay, so I did get rid of the other containers. There was 2 fuel ice containers out there that ultimately got eliminated. So we just have the ammo containers now. So we're just going to call this containers, because there's not really any reason to call it anything else. These are the main containers. My fuel ice, originally I was going to call something else, so inventory, obviously containers, they have an inventory, and then terminal off. So one of the things I do want to look at here is what these guys actually are. So there's out and back, even though you don't have to do that anymore. But I want to find these 2 containers, and one of the things I think I'm going to find is that these are actually standard containers. So I'm going to change these, and the only way to really effectively do that, because I actually have no idea where they are. I mean, I know where they are, but getting to them, it would be a pain in the ass. So if we do inventory and we pull up ammo, these guys are probably, so this one is empty, and this one is empty, so both of them are empty right now, but I can tell these are regular small containers. So what I want to do is change these over to so these I'm gonna those are ammo BRS scaffold lower number. I have no idea which is going to be which, so we'll have to actually turn on the HUD and do that. But I'll do that later. I'm going to do that off screen. I am going to use SE Toolbox to do that, because I think it would be quite a bit easier to get into them. Let us, just for the sake of possibilities here, so I've turned them on the HUD. I've got an antenna active, so we'll see if we can figure out where those guys are. So we know there's one down there. One of the other things that we need to do, now that we've put the assembly system together, is put in the inventory management system. Now the inventory management system, it's really kind of your preference on what you want to use for inventory management. In my case, I am actually a little bit fond of ISI. I have more experience with ISI than with TIM. which is to say I've worked with it quite a bit more. All right, so having said that, back into our G menu, we're going to grab the programmable controller here. We're going to put that out here, programming block. I'm gonna set this upright because I want it to be sitting here. So one will go here, and then I'm going to put one over here, pretty much in the same position, mirrored. So we'll put, whoops, there. All right, we're gonna bounce into here, K. The first thing we're going to do, once again, turn off, transfer everything to me. That way I don't have to worry about that later on. So off. All right, roll down here, programmable block. The first programmable block is for LCDs. So I like having LCDs which will show me a lot of things that are going on. So edit, we're going to browse workshop, we're going to load the automatic LCDs because I really like those things, and OK. That's going to bring the script in. We're going to check code, compilation successful is what we're looking for, OK, and remember and exit. Now, one of the important things to remember about scripts when you're working with the scripts is once they're in the program block, they're embedded into the build. So if you put, let's just say I put this particular build up on the Steam Workshop as a blueprint, people download that, they don't actually have to be subscribed to the scripts. The scripts become embedded. So they don't have to specifically be subscribed to MMaster's Automatic LCDs 2 to be able to use it, because that script is already embedded in this build, in this blueprint. So that's one of the important considerations. All right, we're going to change the name of this one. This one is actually the inventory manager. So I inventory manager. All right, edit. Browse workshop, ISI's inventory manager, OK. There's a couple of things that I want to change here. Disassemble excess will eventually be changed to true, I think. And then $500,000 and in this case, check code, compilation successful, and remember. Now, we need two things for the inventory manager to really work well. And the real question is to where to put these things. So I think this is block 3, which it is. So we're actually going to put the main displays for ISI over on this side. Now I think I can get away with, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to put 2 panels. This is number 1 and number 2. Now, one of the things that you can do with ISI is span 2 panels, and this is going to be, hold that thought, I'll come back to that because I want to really kind of get into that and use this as somewhat of a tutorial for how to make all this work. This one I'm going to put in the side here, and we're going to put that on the other side as well. So these last 2 here are LCD panel sort 01. Oh, actually, sorry, that's sort 02. We'll zoom down here. select this directly because I have no idea what the number is. The ones on the outside. That's, I thought that was this. So this is sort 01. Now, sort 01 and sort 02 are going to go into a specialized group called I think LCD sorting. And we're going to look that up in a minute. But let's go ahead and do the possession once again because I have those 6 LCDs and I want them all to become mine so I can configure them appropriately. And we'll do 2 things here. So we can turn that off now. So sort 1 and sort 2. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump into our programmable block, edit once again, and there's 2 things that we want to see. Auto crafting, LCD auto crafting. Okay, so we'll remember that, and in fact, we'll go ahead and do auto crafting.
No energy.
And then sorting. LCD sorting. Okay, that's the other one we're looking for. Here's what that does for us. So we have a group that is called LCD sorting, and it really was LCD sorting. So LCD sorting, we're going to go ahead and toolbar off and terminal off. Now, what this does for us is all the LCDs in this group are going to display the sorting information. Okay, so that's what's really cool about it, is you can have as many LCDs as you want. As long as they're in that group, doesn't matter what they're named. So I called mine sort 1 and sort 2, but you see in the example in the panel there, it just said LCD 1, LCD 2. So it doesn't matter what they're named. As long as they are in this group, everything in this group will display this information. Okay, the next thing we wanted to do, so this is ISI working. Okay, couldn't move because ISI does not work well with. I'm gonna change the color here too. So I'm gonna grab LCD sorting because I want to do that all at the same time. I'm gonna make all of these green, and rather than being an obnoxious green, we're actually gonna do 192.32, which is this color of green. So if you have no blue, it's a little bit more green, so you can see how it changes away just a little bit. So this just takes a slight bit off of it and makes it just a slightly less obnoxious green. Okay, so turn those green. We're going to go in here and call this auto crafting 1, and then this one is going to be auto crafting 2. Now, what does it mean auto crafting 1 and 2? So right now these are the items that are in inventory. Okay, so that's the stuff that we have here. We can auto craft by way of, if I change these numbers, then it will queue up the assemblers to make whatever you specify here. All right. One of the other things, sorry, I'm going to go off screen for half a second because I have I want to call it cheating. But it's not really cheating. Let's see. What I have is pre-configured LCD assemblies to work with and master. And so what I literally do is paste them onto the wall, onto the bulkhead, and boom, they're done. So that's what I want to do. So refresh blueprints. Refresh blueprints. Where do they go? Oh, how about if I copy it in perhaps. There we go. So I copied it. I just did not copy it into my blueprint folder. Paste. So let's try again. Refresh. Here is the panel, and we will, how about turn that over to be right side up. And I'm going to paste it right there because why not? Okay, this is going to do some silly things there for a second as it figures out what's going on. There we go. And just to have a look-see here, these are panel 1B. Okay, so if we go down here and look at our LCDs, these are the 4 that I just pasted in here. So what we want to do is change this to main 1. So I'm going to change the names on all 4 of these. So basically this is my inventory. So this is my, oops, trying to paste in the wrong place. So this is my components inventory, this is my ingots inventory.
Energy.
So my power and then my status. And the status is kind of one of those weird things that it's kind of the catch-all, if you will, for whatever. Okay, so we're gonna paste in once again. Oop, I'm having trouble. There we go. And paste that in. So kind of up on the bulkhead there, a little bit harder to look at. And this is going to be called main 2. And we'll come down here and we'll see these same 3 here, which was 4. And then main 1 and main 2 sets. So this just made it a lot easier for configuring. Now, I'm going to go in and configure power. So let's go ahead and reactors small, I'm going to turn them back on. And here's why I want to turn them back on. We'll go down here and actually look. So this says reactor junction lock 1 and reactor junction lock 3. Okay, so this isn't junction lock. This is junction, which is what we're in right now, and it's next to lock 1 and next to lock 3. So the idea is that, so let's go ahead and just record that. So Control C. The reason why we do that, so let's go up here to power. Custom data is where all this stuff is. So none of these reactors actually exist, which is why they're blank. So what I want to do is paste in reactor junction lock 1 and then reactor junction lock 3, which I'm just going to do the same thing here. And so this one is going to be 3 and 3, and then I can actually remove all of those guys. So what we have here is we changed everything out. I don't know if that can actually hold 3 million. It might be able to. And what I'm hoping to see what I'm hoping to see is those reactors show up. There we go. So the reason these have 500K in them is because that's what we have ISI set to do. what we could do here, completely flexible. 500K is certainly a lot. So let's go ahead and do 500K here and 500K here. So what this does is set up, and I'm not going to turn this into a tutorial on how to do MMaster's LCDs because he's already got one. So I've set up ISI for 500,000 uranium. This is the limit of that bar. And what do I mean by that bar is that's the percentage. So we have 500,000 of 500. So ISI has put in 500,000. So we're just trying to line these all up to be full, right? 500K, 500K, right? All right. The next thing we want to do, custom data, because we're going to go ahead and Control C this particular thing, because I want to copy this from main 1 power over to main 2 power. So custom Control A, Control V, which we'll paste in. That way we only changed it once. We only had to change it once. All right. So this is my ore status. So we don't really have a whole lot. Well, ore status is on here as well, but we have ingots, which includes the ore. We have the component summary here. We have our power summary, and then in this case we have our connectors. Right now the door status is blank because it's using a group that doesn't exist, which is all fine. We could actually, so we go into custom status, working doors, airtight. So we have all these. We actually could change this to doors sliding, which would then list all the status of the sliding doors that we have here. So that should change. And the downside, of course, is this is going to start scrolling because there's a lot of doors. Okay, so we have the LCDs, auto crafting 1 and 2. We're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to change this to the green color 192 and 32 to take the edge off of that. So once those are all there, then we can pull those off. Now, what I'm also going to do here is scroll down to the LCDs. So this is my LCD group called Systems. Maybe it's just, did I name it Systems or System? I might have messed that up. Let's see what they say. Systems. So this one we're going to rename to Systems. Save. Now what it did create the group. You can't change the name of a group. What it does is it recreates the group with the same with the new name. So we're going to delete that one. We're going to go out, come back in, and we should be able to see this new group with everything called Systems. So there was my Systems upgrade. I think we have most everything there. Okay, so our inventory manager now has this, and this block. So we're going to do the same thing here. Systems, inventory manager, save, off, and off. So everything looks to be working. Okay, so at this point we have the observation deck, which is at the very top. We have the tower bottom. We have our junction, which which is where we are. So the tower top, which is this, and tower bottom junction. Oh, because I have the bottoms, the actual bottoms, already in, where is it? Systems elevator. Oops. That was a control left click, save, off, and off. So now all of those elevator thingies should have gone in. Our reactors, we're done with those, so we should be able to turn these off on our terminal. These are ultimately going to get deleted when we add some stuff. This is our sorting system. So systems sorting, and we'll do the same thing as a save. We'll turn them off on the toolbar and off on the terminal, but they do have an inventory that we could watch at any given time. Alright, so we still have these guys here. We have these containers here, which I've got turned on the HUD. So let's go and have a look and see where those guys are. We'll come back to this eventually. So let me just go ahead and go out the door. So we should see those ammo containers down here, and I don't. Oh, yeah, I do. There they are. Alright, so this may be a little bit of a challenge to get into because it is buried. It is behind this thing. It is right there. So no easy way in. No easy way in.
No energy.
So I will swap those using sorry, I got sidetracked here. I am looking to see how can I better integrate this so it actually looks kind of like, hey, this belongs here. So I'm going to do that using SE Toolbox, which will make things a little easier. So here's what I want to do is make some changes up here just to make this look a little better. So we're going to change that one out, and this will become 9, and there we go. So we'll put one of those in there and one in there. Yep, I like it. And then we'll put number 8. Is that actually, yeah, that's in the right way. Which I think will make this connection look a little nicer. Alright, so, and we'll do the same thing here. We'll do and a 9, and then that one becomes that, and okay, can't do that way because so that's there, and a 9 here. Alright, so that makes that transition look a little nicer. So once again, same thing here. Change that there. 9 becomes 1 there and 1 there with an 8 there. One last one. So 6, which is that one and that one. 9s, which are this one and this one, and then a corner piece, which is that one. Alright, that should have been, I think, all 4. Yeah. So that that makes that transition look, I think, a little nicer to connect on from the scaffolding tower here on up. Okay, we haven't saved for a little while, so let's do that. now we have to figure out, are we going to do tunnels out, or are we going to do kind of the same methodology here where these are like directly connected pieces? And so we have pretty much all of our processing and everything is happening in here. So really all we need would be to add on the landing bays. And I could actually do 4 now, unless I wanted to do a hangar bay. And if I wanted to do a hangar bay, then we have to figure out how to connect that. So what I think is we will go ahead and consider doing 3 of these landing pads, and then we'll come off the last side, which may actually be this one here. This should be number 4. Yeah, so we'll come off of airlock number 4. We'll do a tunnel, and then we'll put a I can get rid of that now. Here's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to let the build and repair system break it down. So we're going to do P and select our hideous hot pink color. So we're going to change the whole thing to this, and then we're going to X, and we're going to paste it in next to the build and repair system, so it will dismantle it all. So that's the grind color. So V, which is
no energy.
There we go. Bring this out just a tiny little bit. I don't know how close that can be. And let's go down. So if all goes well, that will start dismantling right away. We'll eventually get to this here. So what we need to do here, and I'm going to move this for the sake of that is going to go off of this end. So let me go ahead and flip that over and then move it approximately to where it's going to go in. So that's going to be over here. So we'll go ahead and paste it there. Now that this is close enough, this may actually be able to dismantle this. So 6. So this one actually is going to come in close, so we're going to do a C and roll this out just a tiny little bit. So this is landing pad A, which is indeed going to end up pasted onto there. So we're going to back off just a tiny little bit. So this is landing pad A. We're going to do another paste in, which is going to be a landing pad B, and we're going to have to back this off a little bit. So let's flip that over. We're going to go ahead and put that out here. We're going to rename this, and then ultimately this one we're going to pull this one in, Control V, and bring that a little bit closer. And ultimately that one is going to flip around and end up over here. And we will also rename it so we can paste that on. Alright, so the first thing we have here is this landing pad A. The nice thing about this particular landing pad is that it really is already set up to do everything we needed to do. So what we have to do is make sure the backs are clear. In this case, there's nothing on the back here. We are lined up color to color, which is a good thing. And then we're going to let's go ahead and just recolor, because that will ultimately get rid of that. So that was the number one side, or at least it should have been the number one side. So this should be number two. Yes, indeed. So what we're going to try and do, if it all works, is an X, a V to paste it back into the world and see if this frustrates the shit out of me or not. Maybe it will work. And we are lined up, green, and commit. There we go. Landing pad A has been successfully attached, which is kind of neat. Alright, so what we need to do while this is detached is actually rename everything. So we're getting close here. I'm going to turn this off so we can see everything. So this is landing pad B. I think I just screwed up because the ones at the bottom actually are landing pad A.
No energy.
Yeah, I think I just screwed up. But the good news is we can recover easily from this. So I'm really just grabbing any block will do, and the idea here is that I want to grab onto this block, and we will drag this over to this side, which ultimately will cut through those. One piece right there, and then this is now completely separated off, which is a Control X, and then off it goes. Okay, so we have recovered from that little oops. Here's where I was going with that. I know that all seemed very confusing. So down here at the bottom, we had land pad Spire A and Spire B. So what I want to do is probably call this Junction A, Junction B, Junction C, respectively. So let's go ahead and grab another one of these. So this is a Control C. We're going to bring it over here. We're going to flip to this direction and then paste it in. So let's go ahead and look and see what we have down here. Now these are, for whatever reason, changed. Not sure why they did that. Oh, actually, okay, so I do have a top. I think I have a top now. So we should be able to paste in the elevator. So let me go ahead and finish this up now that I am down here. So here are the elevators. In my case, I used, definitely don't want to be that color. I have used that color in the past. So what I want to do is use the 5. I don't know that it really matters. Do we want to, speed everywhere. I think the 5 works out pretty well. Oh. Static rotational axes. Static rotational axes. They do not need to be relative to anything. Alright, so this is the 5 elevator. I'm going to paste it right in here, which is my elevator 1. So what I'm going to do now is look at this. That is the elevator. Let's turn this off. So this was the elevator, and in fact this is elevator 1. And we're going to go ahead and call that elevator 1 car. So I also want to take possession of that, so yes, and then we will copy that up into systems elevator. Alright, so save, off, and off. And I have no warnings, which is a good thing. That was what my problem was before. And we will do the same thing on this side. So a 5, we need to look at this and make sure elevator car, so there's the rotational. We want to put this where it needs to be. I did not see, oh, the elevator car did drop in there. Okay. We want to change this. We'll do the same thing once again, is unhide everything, do a Control A, me, yes. And then turn everything off, and we'll roll down here to the elevator. And this is actually elevator 3, so this is the shaft 3, and this is the car for that. We'll do the same thing here. Go up here to elevator, control left click, which will bring up the group and highlight, and then save, and then an off and an off. So if we roll back down here, we should see all of this stuff has disappeared. We have our 3 LCD panels left, which is all fine and dandy. All right, so we have our Spire A, Spire B. Okay, so that's in fact what I wanted to do when we were back here, and this one stayed the same. We can do 2 things here. We can, I'm going to get back out to number 6 where all these are, bring up number 7, and then turn this sideways. So that was where I wanted to paste that, and then this can go away, and we will do the same thing on this side. That, and then this piece can go away. Okay, so we have repaired our elevators, so our elevator should go from the very bottom, which is here, all the way up to the top. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do here, so let's go into control. Oh, that's a little weird. Okay, so K to get into the control panel. Dummy LCDs, I don't think I have any left. There should be LCD signage, signs LCD, there we go. Let's go ahead and put those back on the terminal, just so I can see where they are. That's only those. Okay, there's a whole lot more of them, so let's figure out what they are. LCD. So we may have some of those. All right. this is why. Um, so if we go into LCDs, this is called Land B Elevator 3. So I'm going to go ahead and Control A, Control C. I'm going to back out of that, come back into this, and actually rename this. And this is Elevator 1, Pad A. So it's on the opposite side. Okay, having done that, we may or may not have, we had systems sign LCDs, so let's go ahead and roll down here and see what that. Okay, system sign LCD, let's see what this says if those show up, and they didn't. Systems. That's the only ones that are there. So let's go ahead and add that one in. Turn this off on the toolbar, and there we go. Okay, so those two are now where they need to be. The LCD panels belong to something. These guys belong to another group. So right now, all the LCDs that are supposed to be doing what they're doing are indeed doing what they're doing. So this is what I wanted to see, which is the centered. There we are. So centered and centered. All right, so everything down here has been repaired. And now I guess we'll get back to what we were doing. The one thing we have left, let's go ahead and Control X that, and paste this somewhere right around close, and paste. And then that should take it apart. Get rid of it. All right, so now we're finally back to where we were, unless I messed something up down here. The problem with doing 50 things at once is I can't remember exactly what I was doing down there. Alright, so we'll use this as an access point. We will turn all of this on. So rather than having this called landing pad B as we were doing before, this is going to be landing pad junction A. That's not an A. That's not an A. There we go. Okay, so we're calling this landing pad junction A. And in fact, I think we used the tac A, so we'll go ahead and follow. I think I have enough room to say C-T-I-O-N. So let's go ahead and I think C. Okay. Oops. I need to do one other thing because I actually need to add, there we go. Okay, that will make it a little bit easier because we're changing from a tac A over here to a junction A with a space. Junction A. Junction A. Okay, so those are changed. The corner lights and interior lights are actually going to change. So this is junction A1. Same thing here, junction A1. Landing pad. Junction A. Okay, so everything is now changed to junction A. Now we need to rename these guys the junction A illumination and save. So that one goes away. Delete. Um, these two actually are not needed anymore, so I'm going to eliminate those. Then this is here, junction A warning, save. Okay, now having done that, I just renamed these guys, so I have to go into my timer and insert those two groups again. So setup actions, see those two groups disappeared. So we have warning and we have illumination. So groups, I know these are the warning and we are toggling. And this is the illumination, toggling. Okay, so here's the idea, is that when these are off, these are on. So all I'm using the timer for is a trigger mechanism for a list. Okay, so I want to affect both of those groups. I'm toggling, which means it's going to go to the opposite. So in the case of triggering this timer, if the warning lights are off, then it's going to turn them on. If the illuminations are on, it's going to turn them off, which is exactly the case here. But if I push it again, then of course those are just simply going to reverse. So because one is on now, then it's going to go off, the other one's going to go on, and vice versa. So back and forth. So basically, I rename the groups, therefore I have to put them back into to this guy once again. All right, so the only thing we want to do here is technically rename this. This is landing pad A, and it's actually landing pad junction A. So we're going to have to change the text size. So let's see what 4 looks like. Not quite.
No energy.
So here's what I want to do. And let's see how that looks. Yes, a little better, I think. Okay, so having done that, I did a lot of changes. We're going to delete that one. We're going to delete this one as well. And that's because I made some fundamental changes that have nothing to do with the names, which is to say this here. So what I want to do is copy this guy, and we're going to spin. Oh, that moved right in there. So we're going to orient that and then paste. And we're going to do the same thing again here. We're going to orient and paste. And because we've made those fundamental changes, now I'm down to just changing the names of things, which is going to be fairly easy. So this is now not landing pad junction A, but rather landing pad junction B. So edit text, and we'll do the same thing here, landing pad junction B, okay. And we're going to copy this, which is actually including the space, C, and oddly, we have and B, save, so A goes away, B, save, and then A goes away. Let's go right down to the block. We'll go ahead and change the timer block while we're there, but set up the actions groups. Okay, so junction pad A and A, which have gone away. So this is the B illumination, which is toggle, and warning, and this is the illumination, both toggles, so they're just going to swap back and forth. So B illumination. Now, why did we change all this? Because if we kept them with the same names, then ultimately I push the button here and it affects the lighting on the other pad. Don't want to do that. Alright, so out of here, back into changing names. So we have the button. So this is a B. There's this guy, B, and B. So we really are just going through and changing all of these connector names. And we'll scroll all the way to the bottom and do this group as well. So this is, of course, a B. We've already changed the LCD panel, and we have already changed the timer. B. Okay, so landing pad junction B. Now there's good news and bad news. We're almost done. We're down to the last one. That's the good news. The bad news is I'm over time again. So this is a good place to break while we're playing with all these redo things, and I'm going to do the other one off screen because there's just no reason to bore you to tears watching that. So this is Country Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching. We will catch you next time.